Hey guys, welcome back to the Gonk video. Today, me and Al are going to be continuing our set review for the Secrets of Power, and we're going to be looking at the command aspect pairings. Make sure you check out the other videos in the playlist to see our thoughts on the other colours, and of course the leaders as well. And without further ado, let's get into the video. We are finally over to green. We've got the one cost green villainy 2/2, the Corrupt Politician. While you control more units than an opponent, this unit gains Sentinel. This feels like a really confusing card to me. I don't know why I'd want to gain Sentinel if I'm already outpacing my opponent with units. I guess if I'm swarming the board, it's more relevant, but ultimately I threw 1 star on this guy. I wasn't too impressed.
Yeah, I've only just got into command, so I'll try and pick up the pace a bit because I'm
Yep.
conscious of how long the video is going to be. So yeah, a one cost 2/2 is absolutely fine sometimes, but not in these colours. So it doesn't really matter what the ability does. It's not good enough in these colours to see play 1 star.
Agreed. Next, we've got the Imperial Dart Trooper. Not an exciting card by any means. This is the villainous version of Battlefield Marine, the 2 cost 3/3 vanilla, but that is a good card. You know, Battlefield Marine has been a good card since set 1. He has kind of, I guess, fallen off a bit in more recent times. You can probably talk about that a bit better as you're the expert on Sabine and stuff, the deck that normally used it. But I think what's really relevant about this card is that this color combination typically had awful turn 1 plays, so now it's got a good one with a 3/3, and the fact it's a droid is the most relevant part, as it can be picked up from the Invisible Hand and played out for free basically alongside other good cards like HK-47.
I mean, speak for yourself. I'm really excited by 2 cost vanilla 3/3s. Honestly, the vanilla 2 drops are the most exciting units to me in the game. Which, I mean, granted, I'm probably in the minority there, but yeah, I think this is a really important card for these colours. I think it does a lot of things. It means that it gives more credence to this potentially aggressive command villainy deck
Definitely.
trying to build. So this is a really important card to try and make that a thing eventually, if it's not already. The droid, like you said, really important for Piet. That's great for him and for any deck that wants to use Invisible Hand. And I think just having a Battlefield Marine stat line in these colours, which they didn't have access to before, is just really, really important. So yeah, a lot of people are saying this is one of the most important cards of the set, and I've only given it 2 stars, but you know, at the end of the day, it's not going to warp the meta around it.
Yeah.
It's not like a meta warping card that would be one of the top cards of the set, but it's a really important card, and I'm really glad they printed it. They should have printed it earlier, in my opinion.
It is not a flashy card, but I think it's relevant, it's important, it's got great tags, it's got great stats, and it'll probably see play in a number of decks, but mainly I think this is a real boon to the Piet Invisible Hand style deck. You can take the next one.
Yeah, so we've got Major Partagaz healthcare provider. So he's two nice little line from the from Andor there. 2 cost 0/6 overwhelm, and then when another friendly official unit attacks, he gets +2/+2 for the phase. So just a quick. I'm not really one for art. I'm not really bothered about art, but personally, to me, this gets the award for the worst art of the set. I really, really don't like.
It's a strange chart.
Yeah, like the faces in this in Star Wars Limited are already a little bit dodgy, but like on this card in particular, I'm like, whoa, okay. So not the biggest fan there, but you know.
I think it's the fact he's such a cool character as well. Like he is awesome, but like this doesn't do him justice.
Yeah. It's like somebody's there was that episode of SpongeBob where he erased people with the pencil. Someone's part of it's been erased on his face.
That's a very good comparison.
I'm not actually a fan of the card either. 0/6 stats with overwhelm and the ability to grow and stuff for 2. It seems on paper like it'd be really good, but again, this is for an aggressive, official tribal command villainy deck, which doesn't exist and won't, in my opinion. So 1 star hit.
Yeah, this is a card that's basically made for Yularen, and I don't think Yularen's going to be a thing. You know, you've got to basically swarm out with all your officials, and then he gets +2/+2, and he attacks last. I mean, 0/6, he doesn't die to Ping Tarkin Town, that is relevant. No. He has a huge stat line, but he actually doesn't do anything until the late game. He's he reminds me a bit of Captain Enoch from the last set, where he's an early game card that wants to be played late because he doesn't do anything in the early game, and that card
also
didn't work out.
Card,
so ultimately,
he's also a bad
Enoch's a 1 star, Partagaz is a 1 star, but kind of a cool card, I'll give it that at least. Chancellor Palpatine, this is a cool card. This is a 3 cost 2/2. When played, if you control your leader, create 2 spies and give them Sentinel, and he has the keyword of plot. So I'm quite high on this card. I went ahead and gave him 3 stars. I think you did as well, Al, so we're both clearly liking this one. I think this might be the best plot card, if not in top 3. I think it's very, very relevant. Obviously, it's completely unplayable without plot because you need your leader unit out to basically, but when you do plot him, he does come out and make a very relevant amount of bodies on the board. 3 bodies, 2 have Sentinel. He represents a ton of stats for his cost. But weirdly, I think he's going to see a bit more play in hero decks than in villain decks. I think that's one of the first times we're going to ever see that.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Like I said, there's a lot of things to love about this guy. So when you actually get split, costing three, if it does cost three in villainy, is obviously amazing, right? If you're paying three for 2/2 and 2/02s,
Yeah,
which have Sentinel for the phase he comes in, and it's all action cheating in one go,
yeah, yeah,
that is the peak of this guy is so high, and it's so great at stopping the aggression and building up a wide board. So yeah, you play it in Mon Mothma for five resources. You would play it in Bale,
yeah,
potentially, maybe not in Bale, I don't know, but you could play it in Bale as well. You'd play it in a lot of pretty much. I think you play this in almost or in most Commander villainy decks as well, just
yeah,
to play it alongside it. Now, I do think that there's a couple of things holding him back from being a truly outstanding card. One, like you said, he's one of the few plot cards that has to be played with the plot, or
yeah.
he's terrible.
He's
I mean,
unplayable.
a three cost 2/2 is obviously completely unplayable. You would literally never play that, almost never.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's a big problem because it means that you can get flooded out with him in hand, or you might not have the opportunity to play him, and then he's not doing very much. But at least you can just resource him at any point in the game up until
yeah.
you lead to deploy. But obviously, when you top deck him later in the game, he's a very very bad card.
Terrible.
So he has that weakness, and also the other weakness he has, and we talked about this earlier, something that isn't immediately obvious when you look at plot cards, is that because he costs three, he looks really appealing. Oh yeah, he costs three, but it's actually sometimes kind of tricky to weave that in, which is why we see him not really doesn't really make that big a difference when he costs five in a heroism deck
Yeah,
or when he costs three, because at the end of the day, no leader deploys for three, so you're always having spare resources. If you deploy your leader for four resources, let's say it was like I don't know, an Asajj Greed or something, then it's very hard to make use of that resource, so it's not very good. Even if you deploy your leader for five resources, like a Kira or something, it's quite hard to make use of those two as well, so he kind of costs five anyway. So I
yeah.
think those kind of things are holding him back from being one of the best cards in the set. I think he is really strong and he's up there, but I think for me, like the best card, I think those things are keeping him down a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Also worth noting that because of how big we're building up boards in this set, and there's lots of spies and lots of things like that, he's very susceptible to any kind of AOE, which we're going to see more of.
Yep, definitely. I think you've made all very valid points. He definitely has weaknesses, but I think on paper he is just absolutely one of the strongest plot cards. And if you pull this off, it feels like for three resources, you've got so much stats and you've got immediately board relevant. And I think he's going to see play in, like I said, Mon and Bale and probably most green villainy decks, unless they've got a very specific game plan. I see no reason to not at least throw one or two copies in, and that's why I actually ended up giving him a silver award for one of the better cards in the set, I believe. I think he's definitely a contender in the top 10 at least of the cards. It's all
Yes,
debatable, but
agreed.
I mean, definitely a great card, and of course a great tagline of I am the Senate. So next we've got the ISB Shuttle, a 3/2 space unit for 3. If a friendly unit was defeated this phase, create a spy token. I think this card is super awkward. It's understated. It's really hard to pull off its effect early in the game when you'd really want it, and a 3/2 space unit for 3 it feels pretty irrelevant in my opinion, so I just threw it 1 star.
Just one of the last point about Palpatine, actually.
Oh yeah, go on.
With the Palpatine leader, also he's one of the really important cards with that because it means
Yes.
you've got a way to stabilize the board as well. There isn't like a five cost 4/5 Sentinel or whatever that terrible
Yeah.
card was. So
I'd
yeah,
much rather play
so
2/02s with Sentinel than a 4/6 or whatever it is. Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah, ISB Shuttle. Yeah, like you said. I mean, I don't think the card's horrendous, and I
No,
think
no.
like in draft it's pretty good. And I think that in there would have been metas in the early days where this card would have seen play, but we're past that point now. So yeah, not good
Yeah.
enough. 1 star. I was about to give it zero.
0 stars the first one. He
One
hates the
star.
card. Next we've got another plot card. It's Masameda. 4 cost 3/4 ground unit. When played, given experience to 2 other officials, and then he has plot as well. I mean, this guy is absolutely horrible for 4 unless you have exactly 2 other officials. He's very understated. And the plot, I mean, does make it more relevant, don't get me wrong, but I think he only has a place in exactly the Chancellor Palpatine leader if he's going to see any play. And even then, I don't think he's a very good plot card, so I just threw him 1 card.
Yeah,
One
agreed.
star.
Yeah, well,
1
yeah,
card.
agreed. Yeah, 1 card, 1 star. Yeah, he's not very good.
Cool. You can take this one.
Vice Admiral Rampart on schedule. 4 cost 3/6, so reasonable stats.
Yeah,
On
not bad.
attack, you can disclose command villainy, and if you do, you give an experience tokens each of up to 2 other units. So similar to Maz, really. There, where you can give the experience tokens. You need a wide board to be able to do it. I think that there's way better uses for ECL, and so you're not going to really want to use it on him. And then if you're not using ECL on him, he's just a 4-cost 3/6 really. So I think
Yes.
that's pretty bad 1-star.
Yeah, I actually went ahead and gave him 2. I'm slightly higher on this card than you, a generous 2 once again. But I do think that obviously 3/6 not a horrible stat line for the 4-cost cost you have to pay for him. And his on attack does give out 2 other experience. Now you've got to have a pretty wide board. But once again, like you said, he is an ECL target if you're going in a more aggressive strategy. Dryden can also give him ambush, which isn't irrelevant if you're going for a more go wide kind of style. But I think if there's ever going to be a villain green aggro deck, he's probably going to be a key part of it, as he does kind of represent a lot of damage. So if there's ever going to be a thing, I think he's going to be a key part of it. But I probably don't see it seeing any play right now. But I don't think it's a horrible card at all. I'm actually quite impressed by the amount of stats it can put out. So. We'll move on to the Cruel Commandos, a 5-cost 5/5 Sentinel Overwhelm, kind of like just like a vanilla card. I mean, 5/5 Sentinel and Overwhelm, not a relevant stat line with keywords and stuff, but ultimately, I think you can just do a lot better for 5 these days. As you can be doing way more with 5 resources, way more stats or a way more relevant ability. Maybe if this guy had plot, it'd be more interesting, but ultimately I just threw this guy 1-star.
Yeah, it's obviously not good for Premier.
Yep. Next, we've got Dedra Miro, a 6-cost 5/5 ambush with on attack, create a spy token. Not a horrible card, and definitely a bomb in like limited and stuff like that. You get to ambush, take away a unit. She probably lives. She makes a spy. But in terms of constructed, I just don't think her stats are high enough. 5 attacks fine, but 5 health. She's probably going to die into most things, and creating a spy isn't really good enough. She's very comparable, I think, to the Legends of the Force 5th brother, who was like ambush with 5/7 stats, and he had like a force ability which no one ever used. He was just like a stat stick basically, and I think he's significantly better with 2 extra health. She's not horrible, but I think just a 1-star card for this.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said there. 1-star.
Cool.
Next, we've got First Light, Threatening Elegance. Does that mean it's threatening them with elegance, or does that mean?
Yeah, is the elegance threatening?
Elegant and threatening. Yeah, so it's a plot for 7, which is not where you want to be because there's very few leaders that can make use of that. Again, maybe you put this in the Palpatine deck, but honestly, probably not. Because I think deploying for 7 in space, 5/7 ambush, you defeat their unit, you draw a card. You're not stabilizing the board anywhere near enough. Dealing 5 damage to 1 space unit is just not where you want to be, even with the Palpatine discount. So I don't think this card even goes in that deck, and that's the deck that it's designed for. So yeah, 1-star for me.
Yeah, 1-star from me as well here. I think plotting on a 7 is way too late. The only reward you really get is draw a card, and ambush in space is usually very niche. Like they don't always have a space unit, and 5 attacks not even a ton really. Like the relevant ships in space have usually around 6 health, like the Devastators and stuff like that. So it just feels like everything comes up a little bit short on this card. It probably paid the price for being plot, sadly, but ultimately I don't see this seeing any play. Next, we've got the Primor Personnel Carrier. As you can see, just throughout 1-star here. I think this is a horrifically overcosted card. 8 costs for a 6/6 overwhelm in space, and it gets experience for each ground unit you control. It's like the ultimate win more card. You get to play a giant space threat if you're already winning the ground. That's usually a sign of a bad card in my opinion. Win more is usually not where you want to be.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, is this card terrible. It does get 1 award for me, though. It gets the award for the most Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy card.
Okay, next award given out.
We've got another sci-fi award. But yeah, I mean, the card's obviously trash.
Yeah, terrible. Speaking of trash, we've got Director Krennic, the 9-cost. You can see the big L in the corner for Legend. 8/10 Sentinel. Ground unit. When it's attacked, discard a card from your deck, give it to unit, you may return it to your hand. I mean, we've never had a ground sentinel this big, to be fair, but I just think it comes down so late, it feels basically irrelevant. It has immediate impact with sentinel, but sometimes it might do absolutely nothing as well because they might just be in space. And his like pseudo card draw ability can even hurt you. You could discard like overwhelming barrages, craving powers, and you occasionally get to like draw a unit. It just seems horrifically overcosted and like overstated, if you know what I mean. Like it didn't need to be this big. Like if this was a 5-cost 5/6 sentinel, I'd like this way more. But I just threw this 1-star.
Yeah, thematically, I don't really understand why he's got so much stats, right? Like, I know he's like sort of, he's like he's got his troopers behind him and stuff, but I just don't really understand. Like, to me, like the other Krennic is a 2/2.
Yep.
So this guy, like, why is he suddenly an 8/10 when he's got a couple of troopers behind him? I don't really get it. But like, so, and I know that it might seem like nitpicking, but to me, like, the bigger the units go, usually like the big things are the crate dragons and the big
Yeah, yeah,
spaceships.
yeah.
Like, why is this like one dude like an 8/10? I don't really get it. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
completely
one
agree.
star as well. Yeah,
You know,
it's
if
a
it,
weird
we've had
card. I don't know
Krennic
why
as a
there's that.
2/2 shielded, and then like his leader's a 2/7, so he's known to have like this kind of low power but relevant ability. If this was like Director Krennic's entourage, where it was a ton of Death Troopers
Yeah.
around him, that would make way more sense. But I think this card's just really confused in gameplay and theme, and ultimately 1 star from both of us here.
Agreed.
Corporate Warmongering, a 4-cost plan. Give a unit +3/+3 for this phase, and every other friendly unit gets +1/+1 for this phase. Temporary buffs just have never worked out, I think, other than Unity of Purpose, because it gives so many stats. I mean, this is like a poor man's, and it only costs 2 less anyway. I just don't see a relevance either for this. This would have been like a bad card in set 3 when we were playing with droids. You know, it's a bad card now, in my opinion. 1 star.
Yep, completely agree. It doesn't give you anywhere near the buffs you would hope for 4 resources.
Yep, cool. Moving on. I am the Senate, 6 cost law, create 5 spies. I mean, nice and simple. Pretty cool card, but I mean, when you think about what you're actually getting for the cost of 6, 5 exhausted 0/2s is just awful. Like, they can just be traded into straight away and die, or the opponent can just ignore them, and then next turn you get to push, 10 damage to base, but across 5 actions. It just seems way too late and way too irrelevant, and probably not enough spies for the cost, in my opinion.
I would have loved to have seen them really push this, like
Yeah, yeah.
10 spies or like 5 readied spies or just something to make it
I
more
think ready is the
exciting.
key part here,
But
yeah.
yeah, but like 5 spies that aren't ready, nowhere near good enough.
No, I mean, we saw the scramble fighters for 7 create, like, what was that, like 8 TIE fighters that can't attack base. That sucked. This is like the same card.
Yep,
1 star.
indeed.
Go on, you can talk with C3PO, your favourite guy.
Yeah, C3PO, anything I might do. So this card's actually existed for a while. It was one of the cards we got in that sort of set where you got the different droids, but and people didn't know at the time that it was actually from Secrets
Yeah,
of Power. So people were thinking, "Oh, I could put this in my deck last set." No, you couldn't. You have to wait until this set. And just like last set, this card is still bad now. Yeah, no
yeah.
reason to play C3PO. I don't
Just
think.
seems like a really
You know,
irrelevant card.
yeah, I mean, Tactical Advantage is probably the worst card ever printed in Stars Unlimited, and so like you've got to really have a solid card with that tacked on if you want it to be good. And this guy's just a 1 cost 1/3, which is not a solid stat line.
Yeah,
And he obviously has to bounce himself back to hand, which means you're paying for the privilege of giving tactical
yeah.
advantages around.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for the privilege of playing a terrible card. 1 star. Next, we've got Mina Bonteri, Stop This War, a 2 cost 2/4 with Restore 1. And when defeated, you can disclose Green Green Hero, and if you do, draw a card. I mean, this must be one of the most pushed 2 drops I think we've seen in Star Wars. Like, this is the premium stat line of 2/4. It's given Restore 1, like Yaddle, which saw a ton of play. And then you get to draw a card when defeated. Like, this is good against aggro with the Restore and the relevant stats. It's good against control because you get to draw a card. I think everything about this card is just absolutely fantastic. Really, truly a 3-star card in my opinion.
Yep, well, I've given her 3 stars as well,
You
and
have.
I believe I've given her an award as
You
well.
have, and I also gave her an award. I actually gave her the gold star.
Ah,
I mean,
oh,
she is not the most exciting in the game, let's be honest. But I think this might be one of the most relevant cards from the set easily. I think every Green Hero deck's going to want to play this. 3 copies, you know, 2/4, restore 1, drawing cards. It's just such a enormous. Like, it's such a low entry cost at 2, and you get so much, in my opinion. If Yaddle was good, I don't see where this isn't good, really. It's not like Yaddle's Force Tag ever really mattered except for Force Throw, and she continued to see play after Force Throw anyway. So I think, we can both safely say that this uncommon is better than every legend in the set.
yeah, absolutely. And this is at the end of the day, like when you're a competitive player, you're not looking at the flashy stuff
Yeah,
when
yeah,
the
yeah.
sets come out. You need to look at the 2 drops. The 2 drops are where most of the power is. I think last set my top like 5 cards of the set were all 2 drops or something like. And I
Two
think this
drops are
set's the same
incredibly
again.
pushed at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, like, they always will be because at the end of the day, like, what FFG don't do is they don't, when they increase the cost of a card, they just kind of increase it all at the same rate. But
Yeah,
they need to like increase it more. They need to make it even better than it would have been if you just increase it. It needs to be exponential rather than proportional because at the
yeah,
end of the
yeah.
day, some games don't go to turn 6 or turn 7 or whatever, right? Like every game goes to turn 1. So every time you can play Mina Bonteri on turn 1, and she's going to be great. Like you said, if you defeat her with Tarkin Town, yes, tempo-wise, that's a bit of a hit, but she's one of the only things in the game that can give you something back at the end of that and give you that value,
Yeah.
which is fantastic. Against Power of the Dark Side, one of the only things in the game that will give you that card back, which is so good. Against aggro, like you said, a 2/4 stat line's perfect. Restore one's amazing, and that's why she got my bronze award as well. She's absolutely one of the strongest cards in the set. The only thing I think slightly holding her back from basically going in every single command heroism deck in the game is basically she can't really go in Sabine because she doesn't have Rebel tag, and I think it's still too important to have Rebels. But other than that, I think she goes in basically every other deck in the game.
Yeah, that's a great call out. I think, like you said, that's probably the one deck she doesn't fit into, which, to be fair, the Restore one and the Draw a card aren't the most relevant there anyway. But, as you said, it's not the flashiest card in the set, but from a competitive point of view, there's no doubt in our mind that this is going to see a absolute crap ton of play. Next, we've got the Theed Security, a 2-cost 2/3. When played, if opponent controls an upgrade, give an experience token to a unit. I think some people were quite excited about this card as like maybe a 2-cost 3/4, but ultimately I think it falls short. They have to play exactly like a Crafty Smuggler on turn 1 or something like that to get the experience. Otherwise, you're playing a 2/3 with no ability, and 2/3s are already bad, so I just threw this 1-star.
Yeah, in a world where your opponent opens up with a Crafty Smuggler, a
Yep.
Secret Sage, whatever it is, a Direct Krennic, and then you follow it with this, I think it's a good card. But
Yeah,
the
yeah.
problem is that not only do you have to have the card specifically when they have that, but also you have to be going second as well. If you're going first, it doesn't do it, right? So you have to pass and lose initiative or whatever it is. So, at the end of the day, like that is just too narrow. If this card didn't have that, restriction where you had to play it going second, basically, I think that maybe it'd be better, but, as like a way to do well against Gar ECL or something. But, a card that's only very good against a very small number of turn 1 plays and only when you're going second, to me, just isn't worth it.
Yeah,
So
agreed. And this is fighting directly against Mina Bonteri. I'd just play that every time. So you also gave this 1-star.
I mean, they have been feasting, right? Like a command heroism got Gungi last set, and then
They are
Mina this set,
stacked
right?
on 2-drops. It's crazy. I mean,
and none of them can go in Sabine. No.
just for you, Al, they did that. I heard. You know what I mean? Why don't you take the lead on Ahsoka?
Yeah, Ahsoka Tano, I learned it from you. Well, there you go. I learned it from you, Sam. I'll take the lead on this one. 3-cost 2/5. When this unit completes an attack, you can disclose command heroism, and if you do, you attack with another unit. So I think I give her 2 stars. She's okay. The stat line's pretty good. Like a 2/5's okay, and I think she's really good in something like Cassian, ECL, or whatever, where you want to cheat actions. She might even go in a couple of other decks, but at the end of the day, like the ability doesn't do too much, and it turns out 2/5 stat line's not actually as good as it used to be. So it's a very generous 2, honestly. I think maybe you're more closer to the true answer of the 1.
Yeah, I think she has some relevance. Like you said, I think action cheating is obviously strong. We know that in exactly a Cassian deck who basically needs to action cheat to stay in the game, she seems relevant, but 2/5 is just so much worse than 3/5 and 4/4 that I just wasn't that high on her, to be honest. And you also don't get her effect until turn 4, the 4 resource turn, because she has no immediate impact, and then she has to attack first, and then if there's a sentinel in the way, she doesn't really break through sentinels particularly well. So I don't think she's great, but I can see why you gave her 2-star. I could definitely see a world in which she sees some experimentation.
Yeah, I think maybe since then I've probably downgraded her to a 1.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think she's
Yep.
good enough.
We've got the Beloved Orator, or Orator, I'm not sure on that one. 3-cost 2/3. When played, create a spy token. This feels like the most Hearthstone card of all time. It feels like a zoo card from Hearthstone. It's like you get 2 bodies. One of them's they're both understated, but because you get 2 at the same time, it feels all right. I went ahead and gave this guy 2 stars, as I feel like you'll probably see some play in exactly Mon Mothma. You get 2 bodies on the board for the Unity of Purpose kind of combo, and potentially as well with one of the upcoming cards. He works quite nicely with the legendary Queen Amidala. But you went ahead and gave this 1-star. You weren't too impressed?
Yeah, it's Orator. There you go. You got it right the first time.
Woohoo.
Yeah, so it's. I think it's probably the only reason I gave it. Well, I don't think it's good enough, really. I think there's better 3-drops to play, even in Swarm decks. And I think that if manufactured soldiers didn't exist, it might be a bit better. But honestly, even in an official synergy deck, I think 2/2/2s is probably better on turn 2 than a 2/3 and a 0/2. So I think that even if we wanted to go down that route, I'd probably rather play manufactured soldiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think either of them actually go in the decks. I think it's better 3-drops now.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair.
A great draft card, though. Very solid card.
Yeah.
Multiple bodies on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember the manufactured soldiers existed, and I think you're probably right that 2/2/2s is better, although you do have to be double green for that, so there is a cost.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately your 1 star is probably closer to relevancy here. Maybe I just got a bit excited at the Hearthstoniness of this card. But
I loved the card when I saw it. I absolutely loved it.
yeah,
I just wish it was a bit better.
yeah.
If only it was better.
If only
Yeah.
maybe it was a 3/3. I think we're maybe looking a bit better there, something like that maybe.
Yep.
Right, moving on, we've got Captain Typho. Why don't you take the lead?
All necessary precautions here. So 4 cost 4/5. We've got the Chillwind Yeti or Wampa in Star Wars stat
Nice.
line. But he is a Sentinel, and when he's attacked, you can disclose Command Heroism if you do
Yep.
heal one from your base. So I was pretty high on this card when it was first revealed. Thought maybe he'd end up going in a lot of decks, but as I've had time to play with him, I've kind of lost a bit of my lust of him because, at the end of the day, like I thought he might play out a bit like Chirrut, where he can really clog up
Yeah,
the
yeah,
board, but it turns out like having one extra power, but kind of a lot less HP than Chirrut is a lot worse.
yeah.
And because getting through 5 HP on turn 4 or turn 4 when you're attacking into him is actually not super difficult, and the
Yeah,
heal is really not that good.
yeah.
Healing for like 1 or 2 is really not that relevant. It's kind of akin to like restore 1 or something. And then if your opponent is going all space, this guy doesn't do anything to help prevent the aggressive
Uh-huh.
push. So at first I thought, well, maybe he'll go into like the Bale deck or the Mon Mothma deck, so he'll give you a way to kind of stop this aggro. But again, against Sabine he's okay, but against like even against Sabine, like you just play a weapon onto Sabine leader and she can value trade into him, and it's just too easy to get through. And then if your opponent's playing all space, this guy does nothing. So yeah, I gave him 2 stars, but and I think he will find a place somewhere, but I don't think he was going to be as ubiquitous as I first thought.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, I went ahead and gave this guy 2 stars as well. I think he's pushed enough where like he's worth trying. 4 cost 4/5 isn't a bad stat line. It's now gained Sentinel, which is a relevant keyword. He can heal your base. It feels like he's doing all the right things, but maybe he's just not good enough to break into the meta. Maybe just a little bit too slow. Although not a bad pull off, something like Ewing, because you can get alongside like a nice 3 cost. It's not bad. And sometimes he'll clog up the board enough where you get to heal 1 or 2 alongside maybe killing a unit or two. So definitely not a bad card. And pretty good for a starter card as well. Once again, they're showing that they're quite strong. Next, we've got the Naboo Royal Starship, a 4 cost 2/5. Each friendly leader unit gains Raid 2 and Overwhelm, and it also has Plot. So once again, Plot has to be considered here as being really quite strong, even though the ship is quite understated. But giving your leader Raid 2 and Overwhelm is pretty relevant, especially I feel like this is like a Bail Organa card. I feel like this is mainly his. Although, I mean, you're the Sabine guy. Maybe this could be okay in Sabine in some kind of situation.
I think this basically is only a Bail Organa card.
Okay, yeah,
So I tried it in Sabine. I think a lot of people are still trying it in Sabine. I think the card is a trap in Sabine. I don't think it's very good at all. Yes, you draw a card by using Plot, but comparing this to something like Darksaber is so much better because
yeah,
you create this unkillable unit that just keep pushing damage. And we're actually going to come to another Plot card that I think is amazing in Sabine, which we'll come to a bit later
yeah,
in Command, that I think just completely replaces this card. I don't think this card should go in Sabine at all. I think it's okay in Bale. So for that reason, I gave it 2 stars because I think it's okay in a pretty strong deck. But honestly, I don't think it's even that good in Bale. Like at the end of the day, the 2/5 in space just doesn't almost do anything.
yeah,
And paying 4 resources to give just your leader over a raid 2 just really is pretty terrible on its
yeah,
own. So I think that this really needed to be like a 4/2 or just something to actually put some pressure on in space so that you can put pressure on in space and on the ground at the same time. But because we're paying a 2/5 in space, your opponent can just kind of ignore it.
yeah.
Like I said, with Bale, a little bit less so because you can keep deploying him. They can't just defeat your leader and make this card irrelevant. But yeah, outside of Bale, I think this card's terrible.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much summed it up perfectly there. Like 2/5 stat line is horrible. It doesn't put like any pressure on. They'll just ignore it. Raid 2, that's pretty relevant, but the Overwhelm doesn't feel terribly relevant either, especially with like Bale. Is like if you want to trade him away, like I guess you want him to redeploy later on, so that's not bad. But like 5 power is probably not overwhelming a ton. Um, but it's probably good enough to just throw into Bale as you want to be plotting out pretty much every time that you deploy him. And clearly you've tested it in Sabine and seen it wasn't good enough. So I think it's still a 2-star card, but probably on the lower end of 2-star.
Yep, agreed.
Cool. The Giselian Commandos, 5 cost 4/5 ambush with plot. Very simple card. I mean, it's basically bossed without a second ability, but gains plot. I mean, I don't think any of these cards are particularly relevant anymore. This stat line's kind of fallen off quite harsh. 4 doesn't really do a ton of damage, and 5 doesn't really survive a ton either, so I went ahead and gave this guy 1 star.
Yeah, one of the worst plot cards because, like you said, Bosk just isn't a playable card really anymore, and this card's, I think, even with plot, is worse than Bosk.
Yes.
So, yeah, 1 star for Druselian.
Cool. Next we come to quite a good card here, I think. Why don't you take the lead, Al?
Yeah, Queen Amidala championing her people. A 5-cost 5/3. When played, you create 2 spies, so you're getting 3 bodies for 1. And then, if any damage will be dealt to her, you can defeat another friendly unit that shares a trait. And of course, spies are officials, so they do share a trait with her. And if you do, you prevent the damage to her. So, 2 main applications for her. I think she's one of the strongest cards in the set. I think
Agreed.
she is. Being able to put 3 bodies into play at once is really good, but then being able to put a 5/3 that's not unkillable but very difficult to deal with, it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. If you can stick an upgrade on her, it's very hard for your opponent to come back from that.
Absolutely.
Yes, she can be defeated with hard removal, but she's one of the only things in the game that when she's defeated with hard removal, she leaves stuff behind. If you play against a control deck and they vanquish her, you've got 2 spies, which is very relevant. That's 4 damage each turn pumping into your opponent.
Yep.
So she's fantastic there. She's amazing, I think, in hand 2 ECL, where you can play her
Yes.
4-cost 5/1 with the ability. And yes, a 5/1 doesn't seem that impressive, but again, whenever she takes any damage, you can defeat the spies instead. So she can put a lot of pressure on there as well. She's amazing in Mon Mothma. You'd play her in Bale. She's just good in any kind of deck that wants to go wide. The only deck I think that doesn't really benefit from her in these colours is probably Sabine, where I think she's maybe a bit slow and you'd much rather play Poe. But I don't think you've got room for both necessarily, especially because you usually play Chewbacca as well. But yeah, what an amazing card. I mean, fantastic. I absolutely love the design here. I think it's amazing, and it feels awesome. It feels like a legendary. This is one of my favorite cards of the set. I love tokens. Tokens are just, ever since Magic the Gathering days and stuff, I love tokens. So the fact that you create 2 spies is awesome. And her prestige art is my favorite art of the entire set. I think it's unbelievable. It's gorgeous. Yep. So yeah, I think this is one of my favorite cards in the set. Absolutely amazing. I think she's really powerful. And I know I've rambled on for a while, but another really important thing to say about her currently, and this may change, subject to change, but currently in the rules, if you overwhelming barrage and hit the spies and her, or if you use Top of the Summit and you hit all 3 of them, or if you use anything that would deal damage to all 3 of them at once, she can still stop herself being defeated by sort of doubling up on the spy. So even though the spy is going to be defeated by the, what's the 5-cost card that deals 3 to everything? Bombing Run.
Bombing Run.
If you Bombing Run, if you think, your opponent plays Armador, I'll just play Bombing Run, it's easy. You Bombing Run all 3 units, she can still defeat the spy and take no damage. So it doesn't even defeat her, and that's as it stands right now in the rules. Now that could change, and again, that's not officially locked in, it's going to stay the same, but as it stands, that is how it works. I've had confirmation from Head Judge on that. So yeah, while that is if that changes, by the way, that completely makes this card so much worse.
Yes.
Because then AoE really hits her, but at the moment she's basically immune to AoE as well. So yeah, this card unbelievably powerful. I'm expecting to see a lot of Queen Amidala.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have to say anything else. I think you literally hit every key point of this card. You summed it up perfectly. This is the best legend of the set, hands down, in my opinion, and really a top contender, definitely in the top 5 cards of the set. Obviously, we've both gone ahead and given this 3 stars, and I did actually give it my pick here as my favourite card of the set.
I feel like I've robbed you now. I've just
no.
I didn't know that.
You hit every key point. I was in my head thinking, will he even mention the barrage interaction? And then he did, and I was like, I don't even need to say a word. He has glazed this card to hell. He's done it for me. So I
should have warned before.
No. I like that you talked about it because I think you really summed it up really well. And even just shout outs like this art is amazing, and the prestige is even better. So absolutely fantastic, piece of art, character, snapshot in time, everything about this card's brilliant. Really happy with this one.
Yeah, 100% slam dunk for me there. Yeah.
Yep. Next we've got the Renowned Dignitaries, a 6-cost 5/6 Overwhelm, and when played, heal 2 damage from your base for each friendly official unit. We already touched on this slightly earlier when we talked about Mon Mothma. Basically the only deck that can play this in my opinion. It can kind of act as like oops, I didn't draw Unity of Purpose, but I drew these guys instead. I will just heal my base for an absolute crap ton, and hopefully that's enough to get me over the edge and win the game against these aggro decks.
Yeah, I mean this is the only sort of reason you would consider Mon Mothma instead of Bale. To me, is because she gets the dignitaries, and it looks like a sort of filler, draft card really. But at the end of the day, it heals for at least 2 for itself.
Yep.
And usually in the Mon Mothma deck, it heals for like 6 to 10.
Yeah, I've healed from like 10, 12. Like it goes crazy.
Yeah, so like you said, if you can't win with Unity of Purpose, this against aggro, sometimes this can even be better than aggro, because sometimes against aggro you play Unity of Purpose and they just kill you. So you can just play this, and usually you're not going to lose the game if you get 2 Renowned Dignitaries. Of course, the fact that it costs 6 is a bit unfortunate, but we are in the aspect with ramp, so you can command and get it out a turn earlier or whatever you need to do. So yeah, pretty good card. Again, only playable in one deck, but really, really important card for Mon Mothma.
Yep, agreed. Nailed it there. two stars from both of us. Key card from Mon Mothma. Probably won't see play anywhere else, but in that deck, it's essentially the oh shit button of I will heal a ton. Next, speaking of Mon Mothma, we've got her unit here, Clinging to Hope, the 7 cost 5/8 with Restore 3. When played, you may attack with any number of units, even if they're exhausted, but they can't attack bases. I mean, really cool card here, really cool effect. I just don't see it working out personally. I mean, she's a massive body, 5/8, Restore 3. You know, it's comparable to like Luke Skywalker. These really powerful 7 drops from the past. I just don't think she's anywhere near as good as them. You have to have a wide board. They already have to have attacked, and then you have to attack non-base with them. It just doesn't seem that relevant to me. I threw a 1 star.
Yep, same here. Yep, not much to say about her really. I think again on paper she looks interesting, but I think in practice she's not going to really do anything with that ability. So
Yeah, I think you'd be lucky to get 1
unfortunately
attack
not.
off with her from that ability, and like, what are you doing at that point? You're just playing a chunky guy.
I mean, and sadly, it's other units, right? If she could do it herself, basically like an ambush as well, then
Yeah,
then I think it'll be a lot higher on her. But unfortunately, she can't.
yeah, cool. I'm glad we're in agreement on that one. Here she is again on another card, the Figure of Unity. It's a 3 cost upgrade. It can only be attached to a unique unit, but the unit gains, while this unit is ready, each other friendly unit gains Overwhelm, Raid 1, and Restore 1, and then it also gives the +2/+2 on itself. Well, I'll go ahead and do the star ratings. I think we've both gone for 2 here. Yep, I think this is a really key card once again in a few decks, probably Mon Mothma, maybe Bale. You've maybe tested that a bit. I think even Admiral Akbar, who always pops up now and again. I think this is great in Admiral Akbar Data Vault. Um, I've even heard something about Hand 2 maybe even playing this card. I don't know how good that is. I'm not sure. But I think in the decks that want this, it's a key component. It's kind of like a Unity of Purpose light. It does a lot of stuff for what it's costed. It just has a few restrictions, like attached to only a unique unit, mainly a leader is what you want to be putting this on. So I think it's a good card overall. You got much more to say about this one?
Yeah, so just something a bit of a downside to it. I think a lot of positives, like you said. I think it does a lot to stabilize for Bale. I think you do play it in Bale.
Yeah,
You play it in Mon Mothma, like you said, Akbar. It's great at stabilizing. The problem I have with it is that specifically one of the decks that you really, really want to stabilize against is Vader 4. And then Vader 4 should do. If they don't, they should all be running 3 copies of No Goods Me Dead in the main board. And if they No Goods Me Dead, your leader with this on it, you're not going to win that game because
100%.
sadly for Figure of Unity, their unit has to be ready, which I just think
I don't
why
know why
did you
that's
put that
there.
restriction on it?
Yeah,
But it's on there, so it means that if somebody no good to me this, they basically defeat your Figure of Unity, defeat your leader, defeat it all in one go. Whereas if it didn't have that restriction, No Good to Me Dead wouldn't be anywhere near as good because you could stop their leader, yeah, but then you wouldn't stop any of the restore coming in. So really unfortunate there. Another little thing with it is again the Vader 4 gets that new, we'll come to it, that new ship that removes keywords. So you can obviously remove the keyword from one of the units there. So if you've only got 2 units in play, you lose a bit there as well. So just unfortunate, not the best card at stabilizing in probably the most important matchup it needs to stabilize against, which I think holds it back from being a really good card.
yeah, not a bad legendary though. Like definitely a pretty unique effect. So I think worth the legendary
Yeah.
status. Just maybe not pushed enough. And I do think the ready text is what is the real nail in the coffin for this card not being like a 3-star card. So
Hmm.
we'll move on to Renewed Friendship, a 4-cost event. Return a unit from your discard pile to your hand and create 2 spies. I think this card's doing like 2 different things, and it's costing a lot to bundle them together. Returning a unit from your discard pile to your hand is not massively impactful, although you could do that in like some like grindy decks, maybe like a Ray Data Vault, but then you create 2 spies and like they don't do a ton while they're exhausted. So I think this card's just a bit messy for the cost, in my opinion. I gave it 1 star.
Yeah, I think this card's terrible, honestly. Like, if you compare this, and I know that Faith in Your Friends, which we'll come to, is like, you have the restriction of,
Yeah,
having enough cards in hand, but compare this to Faith in Your Friends. Faith in Your Friends draws a card from your deck, which is a lot better than the discard pile, because
yeah, yeah.
sometimes you don't have a card in your discard pile to draw, right? Or you don't have one that you want.
And this has to be a
Drawing cards from the
unit, not
deck,
just a card.
exactly, right? So I think drawing from the deck is usually better, and you just get 2 spy tokens for half the cost. Like 2 compared to 4, I cannot express what a massive difference that is.
Yeah,
I think this card is embarrassingly expensive. I
yeah,
cannot
yeah.
believe how much they've made this cost. It puts me in mind of Command, where sometimes you play Command and you have to pull something you discard pile because you've got nothing else to use the ability
It's
for.
the
It's just
worst ability
terrible.
on it, you know what I mean? You don't want to
Yeah,
use that, but you just do it sometimes. Like,
yeah.
if this card was kind of like costed 2 and it said return a unit if you do create 2 spies, like that feels so much
Mm.
better. Like it had like a
Oh yeah.
restriction almost, but yeah, I think for 4 this feels kind of embarrassingly bad. We'll move on to the 6-cost event, Dismantling the Conspiracy. A friendly unit captures any number of enemy non-leader units with a total of 7 or less remaining HP. It's kind of like the Cad Bane legendary text. That was 8 HP, but obviously this costs 1 less. But you don't get a body with it, so that's a big difference in my opinion. But it's definitely a put the brakes on kind of card. It can kind of be a pseudo board wipe against certain decks. Although I do think HP numbers are quite high these days, so 7 health will run out very quickly. Like a lot of 2/4s out there or 5 health Gungies, that's over half this card's value. So I wasn't too impressed by this. I threw it just the 1 star, but I believe Al, you actually gave it 2. So why don't you talk about this a bit more?
Yeah, I think I was a bit overzealous here. I think it was Pierre actually, or Thork, who you may know us from Team Enigma.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was pretty keen on this card, and I think he was, basically use it in like a Bale deck or something, just as a way of board clearing, like you said, when you don't normally have access to that. And
Yeah.
yes, it's a lot worse than Cad Bane, but you get it in a color that you wouldn't normally get the effect and stuff. But at the end of the day, like costing 6. I think I would honestly almost always play Rule with Respect before I would play this card. I think
That is a
costing
bold
6,
claim. You have heard it here
yeah,
first. Al will play
like
Rule with Respect.
if you want a card that stops your opponent's space aggro units from defeating you, then Rule with Respect is a better card than this is for doing that. So I honestly think this card is going to be experimented with, and that's why I've given it 2. But I don't think it's going to end up actually going in many decks. I think
Yeah.
it's just too expensive.
Yeah, I think the only redeeming factor, like you said, is that this color combo doesn't have access to a card like this, like a board wipe effect. But this is a bad one for the cost, in my opinion. So it may be tried for a bit, but it just feels a bit overcosted. Why don't you take the lead on
Next, we've
Chancellor?
got Chancellor Valorum, Civil Servant. So 5 cost, 3/7 there. So when he completes an attack, he's a double command aspect card. When he completes an attack, you can disclose 3 command cards, which you should have if you're in double command.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you do, you can put the top card of your deck into play as a resource. So this card really saddens me because we've finally, for the first time ever, got double command actually with a viable archetype, and this guy sucks. He's an official. He's like the perfect. You would think everything's like right for him to go in the deck, but then he doesn't do anything because he's not ramping into your leader. So I just really wish they would have made him like a 3-cost 3/5 with the ability or something to let you actually ramp into your leader with him, but you can't. So you play him in Mon Mothma, and yeah, you can ramp from like 6 to 7 or whatever, but that's just so slow, and that's if he gets to attack. You can play. I would love the idea of playing like a Mon Mothma with Cunning, and then playing. Now there are 2 of them, right? So you start turn 1 with an official, and then you get to play Queen Amidala on turn 2, or this guy on turn 2, or whatever, right? But
That's
at the
a
end of
cool
the day,
idea.
it's just not. It's a cool idea. It's just not very good though, so who cares? But yeah, so I think I just wish they would have made this guy better. Honestly, like he was like the perfect glue card or the perfect card to give a boost to double command, and they just made him rubbish. So yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
like him at all.
I think. I mean, I do. I love ramp cards. Is first of all, like I think ramping is a fun mechanic, and he gets to be a repeatable ramp card, which I don't think we've had. It's always been one-time effects. Like this repeatable ramp is quite strong. He also perfectly curves out of the resupply or the super laser tech, which feels really nice. If you're going for this endless legion style deck, he's certainly going to try and get you there. I think I'm a bit higher on this guy than you, because I think double green does get a lot better this set, so I did go ahead and give him 2. But I think your speech did perfectly sum up all the shortcomings of this guy, and you're probably more on the mark here.
Which I'm really sad about because I would have loved this guy to be good.
Yeah, well, you just love Chancellor Florum, don't you? He's your favourite character.
I do, yeah.
You always say that.
Sure.
Um,
Imagine anybody saying that.
well, I've seen your backpack, mate. It's got his face on it and everything. Senator's Aid, why don't you take this one? Another exciting one.
Yeah, 1 cost 0/3. While you have initiative, it gets +2/+0. So it's a 2/3 with initiative, which I think is just not good enough to go in any deck. So
Yep.
1 star.
Yeah, 1 star for me.
There's a lot. Basically, double 1-drop is a very valid start, but it means you never have initiative, which is terrible for this. So yeah, it doesn't work with its own cost.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it also doesn't work very well with stuff like Layer or the Ray effect where you're buffing, because that's like you're giving away the initiative normally to do that. So like even when you can buff it and make it a decent card, because it would be a 1/4 with +2, so a turn 1 3/4. I mean, there's just better stuff you can be doing here. Diplomatic Envoy, 2/2 for 2 space unit. When played, you may disclose a green card. If you do, until the next unit you play this phase gains Ambush. I mean, it's a bit like a really bad timely intervention. You get to give Ambush, but it's an action after. They know it's coming. It also costs double the amount if you play it from hand, or the same if you smuggled it out for the cost on timely. So ultimately, I just don't think this card's very good. I gave it 1 star.
Yep, nothing to say. It's terrible.
Yep. The GNK Power Droid, a 2-cost 1/3 droid. On attack, the next unit you play this phase costs 1 less. Personally, I quite like this card actually. I mean, I know it's got pretty horrific stats, don't get me wrong, but it does have a powerful effect. You're essentially ramping immediately. If you have the initiative, I think this card is really quite strong, and if you don't, he is absolutely awful. I think he's definitely got a main place, in my opinion, in Piet, once again, because A, the droid tag he can pull from the invisible hand as like a failsafe, even though he's not very good. But ultimately, you can go turn one Gonk, attack their base or whatever, and then you can use the ability with the Gonk's ability to play a 5-cost capital ship on turn 2. So you can play an MC-30 or a Dornian gunship turn 2, and you've just played like an absolutely giant space threat. And then you don't really care if the Gonk dies or not. So I do quite like this card, and I did throw it 2 stars. I think it doesn't have many applications, but when it does its effect is strong.
Right, can I just say, FFG have really missed the trick on not giving the Gonk gang this card to reveal. Like, come on,
They could have done it, man.
Like, come on. Not only is it obviously matches with the name, but also like Piet is like the sort of marquee deck, I feel like, of the Gonk gang.
Oh, 100%.
And like this card's like perfect in Piet. So yeah, 2 stars as well. It's great. The cards in the game. It's awesome for you guys.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's great in Piet. When my opponent plays this on turn 1 in Piet and I'm playing Sabine, I have to ECL and kill it. So,
yeah, you have to respond it immediately.
Yeah, so and that, I mean, that's a big deal. It means there aren't many uses of ECL in that matchup, to be honest, because the main big spaceships. But yeah, I do have to use it, and it's a shame he's not a 1/4. The card would have been
the 1/4 would have been crazy statted, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe a 0/4 then. But yeah, I think the card's solid in the decks it goes in. But
I think in the exact deck he goes in, he's really quite an all-star, especially if you have initiative. I think that's the real make or break with him. Like, maybe if you don't have initiative, you might even want to side this guy out for something else. I think he's a lot worse, but I think when he's good, he's really good. And of course, he is the hallmark of the channel. And I think we'll try and collect as many as we can to give out at events. Start throwing Gonks everywhere. Next, I think this is an Al card through and through. Why don't you take it away?
Yeah, Jar Jar Binks, my real favourite character.
Well, of course. You just dressed up as him for Halloween, right? I mean, you sent me a picture and everything.
Misa Propose. So he's a 2-cost 2/1 Naboo Republic Gungan official. So he's got 4 tags and almost none of them are relevant at all. But anyway, when played, you can give another friendly unit. There it is again. The I forgot the name of it now. What's the +2/+2 tactical advantage effect? But he has plot as well. Now, this card has my pick for my favourite card of the set.
Yep, I'll go ahead and reveal that.
Queen Amidala. I think Queen Amidala is also one of my favourite cards. But I love Jar Jar so much because I'll tell you why. I don't know if he goes in any other deck. Honestly, he might not even go in any deck except Sabine. I think he probably does somewhere, but I think in Sabine, this card is amazing. He does go in Bale, but he's honestly not even... I don't think he's as good in Bale as he is in Sabine, but yeah, okay, he does go in Bale probably, yeah. That's true. Pretty good in Bale, because then obviously you can draw it later in the game and still get some use out of him. So yeah, he's very good in Bale, I agree with that. But yeah, in Sabine, he is so good because he does a few things. He allows you to resource him in your opening hand, so you get to keep a Poe or a Wrecker in your opening hand, whereas otherwise you'd have to keep a 2-drop, a 3-drop, a 4-drop, and then like a Poe, and then you'd have to resource the Wrecker or resource the For a Cause, I believe, in other Rebel Assault. You get to keep that card now, which makes your win rate go up later because you can resource Jar Jar. And then on the flip turn, you get to flip him. And earlier I mentioned about I was talking about the Naboo Royal Starship and how I didn't like that card in Sabine. Well, it's because Jar Jar exists. Because flipping Jar Jar immediately buffing Sabine up to a 4/7. Granted, it's only for the turn, but it means she can't be taken down, she can't be ambushed into and defeated. You get a second unit in play immediately, so she can't be powered of the dark-sided. He protects Sabine against basically everything that would defeat her, force choke, whatever it is.
The fall on ambush.
And then allows it... fall on ambush, exactly that. Yep, it protects her against that as well. So, and then you can play him alongside the Yoda's lightsaber as well, which means that Sabine is so much more likely to be able to attack in a couple of times with this Yoda's lightsaber because she can't be defeated immediately. So he's amazing with Yoda's lightsaber. You only have to draw him at any point in the first 3 turns of the game before the flip turn. It's not you have to have him in your hand on that turn. So he's amazing in that situation. And yeah, in my current Sabine list, he's the only non-heroism card. 47 heroism cards for 4 of course, I believe, and he's the only one that I see worth it to include. That's how good he is in Sabine. I think he's amazing. And even later on in the game, unlike a lot of the other plot cards, you can just play him and give the +2 buff, and sometimes it just gives you the lethal as well. The only thing I don't like about him, the only thing I just really wish he wasn't unique and he was a different character in Star Wars, because if you can do it twice, being able to flip both from your resources, effectively draw the 2 cards, and then buff something up massively and keep the 2/1 in play, both 2/1s in play, would have been awesome. So it's a shame that he's unique, but that's my only gripe with him. I absolutely love this card. Super fun. And kind of unassuming, but a great buff for Sabine.
Yeah, I can't believe you just said you wish it was another character. Like, you don't want to play Jar Jar in your Sabine deck. That's awesome. You get to play Jar Jar Binks. Um, I think you covered every point there. Like, this is, you know this card really well. It was your pick. I don't think I've got much more to add other than I think it is absolutely fantastic. It was the one that just got knocked off my top three spot for my awards as well. I think it's amazing in Sabine. I think it has applications elsewhere and will be tried, but I think in exactly Sabine, like, it protects you against just so much, and it makes you push damage. You can push damage to base, and like you said, you can just play it later and like buff an A-wing or something, and it's just enough to win the game. You know what I mean? I think it's just an all-star card, and like you said, it is so unassuming that this is one of the best cards in the set. A 2-cost 2/1 Jar Jar Binks. No one thought that was coming, did they? So
Yeah, absolutely.
there it is.
Little spoiler alert as well. The next
Oh,
11 cards, I'm trying to look through. The next 11 cards are all 1 stars from me, so
okay.
we can race through them
Let's
nice
do
and
a
quick.
speed run challenge for the next 11 then. On Fritar, he's a 2-cost 0/4. He gets +1/+0 for each lore in your discard pile, and when you play him, you search the top 10 for a lore and draw it. He's like
Yeah,
he's like Jabba the Hutt with the tricks kind of thing, but I think
yeah,
ultimately lores are way worse than tricks, and I'd rather the 2/8 body is way better than an 0/4 body in my opinion. Plus he's underworld, more relevant traits. I just don't see him working out right now. Maybe if they print some bonkers lores in the future, he's worth running, but 1 star.
you're just never going to get enough in your discard
Nah.
pile to make it work. Is the problem, right? So yeah, all
Yep.
good.
Daro Commando, 3-cost 3/4 Overwhelm clone. This sucks.
Filler.
Yep.
Yep.
Kino Loy, 3-cost 1/5. What they did this guy dirty. I love Kino Loy so much. They could have given him so much more, man. Good flavor at least. For the more exhausted the people are around him, he gets buffed. As he's the kind of the guy that shouts at them and stuff like that. But his stats are horrific for the cost, in my opinion. So 1 star.
Yeah, he's the thing about him that really, because at first I thought, well, maybe he's a 2 star card, and then when I played him in Bale and in Mon Mothma and realized he's not even good in those decks, that's
Nope.
when you know, when you've got like 10 exhausted units and he's still not good enough, then, then you know the guy's not
You
good.
know he
So yeah,
sucks.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
just
terrible.
terrible after turn 2 in every game. So if you have him on turn 2, he's okay, but after that, he's just terrible.
Yep, he's terrible, and I heard he can't swim either. So next we've got the 3-cost Tailander Shuttle, 2/4 on attack. If you have the initiative, create a spy token. Not a big fan of these. If you have the initiative cards, it's not bad value if you get the
Filler.
spy, but just filler alert 1 star.
Yeah, we need a little red stamp filler.
Yeah, filler alert. That's too much editing. Okay. Nubian Starskiff. Now, you've given this 1 star. I actually gave this 2. I think it's actually quite aggressively statted for what it is. 4/4 restore 2 if you've got an official. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I've actually played around with it a bit in my Mothma decks, and in the sideboard it feels quite nice. Restore 2 is quite premium in those colours, and a 4/4 isn't bad either in my opinion, but definitely not an amazing card, don't get me wrong.
I think this card's absolute trash, personally. But I'm willing to be proven wrong. We'll
Okay,
see. We'll see
okay.
if my Mothma does need space. So honestly,
Yeah,
maybe.
that's
But I
the
think
shit. I think that was the one space unit I put in Mon Mothma. So maybe I'm pure cope on 2 star, but we'll see. The Consular Cruiser, yeah, 1 star. Maybe if it had the capital ship keyword, it'd be 2 star for Piet, but I don't know why it doesn't. It just has transport. So boom. Raxian Assembly, yeah, 1 star. Do you even want to say anything about this guy? He's just a stat stick. He
well,
sucks.
it's disappointing because he's a 5-cost official, so he could have made the Now There Are Two of Them deck better because there's so few of them, and they just printed a vanilla 6/5. So okay,
The Now There Are Two of Them
give him a
official
store
deck
two.
goes crazy, man. You've heard it here first. Crucible. Oh, you gave this 1 star too. I actually gave this 2 star. So trust me, this is not a good card, but I think in the Unity of Purpose deck, it is like a backup plan. You might throw 1 or 2 of them in your deck. Oh, I didn't draw my Unity, but I did draw the Crucible. It gives a permanent buff when played and when defeated. Plus, those decks always really struggle with space as well, so it's not bad to have a space threat of a decent size as well. So not an awful card, but I think extremely niche.
Don't get me wrong, we've tested it. I've definitely tried it out, and
Yep.
it might end up as a one of in some of these decks. I think that's true, but I think a one of in like some niche decks to me like doesn't push it quite to a 2.
Yep,
But yeah,
that's fair.
it's not terrible.
Yep. Naboo Security Force, absolute limited bomb, but filler alert.
Yeah.
Shadow Crawler, 7-cost 6/7 ambush. I mean, The new Darth Vader is here. That's like all I'm going to say on that, man. The
This is the
6/7
most
ambush.
Warhammer, the most Warhammer 40k card in the set. It's like
Yeah,
a
this gets
Necron.
this gets the Necron award.
Yeah.
Moving on, Voot Parler. Wow, you gave this 1 star, man. Well, so did I. Yeah, this absolutely blows chunks. This is a 9 cost 7/7. It's not even
People
good.
are hyped about this card.
I know, like
People
I guess
really-
it has a kind of cool effect. It turns your droids into resources, but guess what? If you need to play a 9 cost card to make your other cards pay for other cards, that just absolutely like that makes no sense. If this was like a 1 cost 1/1, it would be better. I'm not even messing. Like it would make more sense as a card like that.
Yeah, well, if you reduce the cost of almost any card in the game, even reducing the stats, it basically makes it better, right? This is
True.
why 9 cost cards never see play. So.
Yeah, this is just awful. It's not even good in Pier with the droids, so that's how bad it is. Unveiled Might. Okay, so I went ahead and gave this 2 stars, and so did you. So why don't you talk about this one?
Yeah, I think the only deck I can see this. I tried it in Sabine. It's
Yeah.
just not good enough. I tried it in a few different decks. It just doesn't end up making the cut. Really, it just doesn't quite do enough for the cost. The only
Yeah.
deck I've actually included it in is Vader 4.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes you get to 6 resources with Vader 4. You flip them. You don't have enough cards in hand to actually do anything. So it
Yeah,
gives
yeah.
you a way to actually do something. And this is the card I was talking about. When I first talked to my teammates about this, they were like, "Well, they'll just rivals fall to the Vader anyway." But the thing is, you don't stick it on Vader. You flip the Vader onto a 1/1, make a 6/6. And you stick this on a different unit, and then if
Yeah.
you do rivals fall or kill him or exhaust him, you can still push some more power on.
Yeah, you can put
But
this on
also, it
Victor
does
Leader or
curve
something.
nicely. Exactly, and it curves nicely with Victor Leader or like a TIE Phantom, where if you stick this on TIE Phantom on turn 3 after you play the Phantom, then sometimes they have a hard time dealing with that as well. So it's not the best card in Vader, but I think it does go in the deck, and I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a tier 2 deck. So
Yeah, not a flashy card at all, and pretty underwhelming, but it's probably just good enough in like 1 or 2 decks. Maybe even Bale can play this as like a 1 of or 2 of just to throw out there if he's got something to do. Budget scheming, this card is horrific, but it does include some awesome characters in the picture, so I'll give it that. But yeah, that's just filler alert. Reconnaissance, I'll give that a big filler alert as well. If you control a ground unit and a space unit, draw 2 cards. It's just not relevant.
yeah, conditional draw 2 basically never ends up being good. So.
Yep. Next we've got the Trade Route Taxation. This is a 2 cost event. Choose an opponent. If you control more units than them, they cannot play events for the rest of this phase. And it has Plot. It's a pretty good card actually. I'm quite high on this one. I think if played at the right time, this can really catch the control decks off guard. It can be essentially a no, you can't kill my leader button, or you can't answer my board with like Super Laser Blast or something like that. I think it's probably most relevant with the 6 deploy leaders or 5 deploy leaders, where it fits more nicely and can stop stuff like No Glory and stuff like that. But definitely a decent card. I gave it 2 stars. I think you went a bit higher on 3, so why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I think it's got some. I'm not sure if it'll end up being a 3-star card, but it's got so much potential. In Vader 4, again, for example, one of the great things you can do is you can flip the Vader,
Yep.
play the Unveiled Might and Trade Route Taxation, both.
Oh,
in one go, so
yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
Make use of the both plots, and then if you do that, your opponent can't Rivals Fall, they can't Bamboozle, they can't No Good to Be Dead, they
Wow,
can't
nice.
Hyperspace Disaster immediately, which is a new one. So if you can end the game, it basically gives Vader a way to cut out all of the ways your opponent can stop you ending the game that turn. Sometimes you would even delay the Vader flip until the next turn to make sure you can end the game on that turn. So
Yeah,
it
yeah.
creates a lot of really interesting games and lines of play. One of those cards you don't always have to play with Plot either. You can just open up the turn on like 5 or 6 resources with it and then try and end the game that way. So it does have some application in a few decks, and I think in those decks it can be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
There's a world where this card takes Vader 4 from being like a tier 2 deck to a tier 1 deck just
Yeah.
off the back of this card. So yeah, I think a really, really interesting, powerful card.
Yep.
And kind of funny to me that like one of the most interesting cards in the set is Taxation. It's like
Well,
it's like we're sitting here playing
George
with
Lucas would
lightsabers
love
and
this.
blasters.
He saw the
Yeah.
plot to Phantom Menace and he was like, I want to make this card good. So
I mean, this whole set is based on like politics and
Yeah.
like the Senate and taxation. Which is,
taxation's
and the
awesome. We all love
is-
tax.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't like to be taxed? So yeah,
Exactly.
taxing your opponent is awesome. Yeah, we all.
Yeah.
Love it. And obviously, we didn't. The key thing here is that you can't just go in any deck because obviously you have to have more units than your opponent, which does limit it. And then Vader 4 specifically really good with that because he can deploy 2 extra units as he plays the plot, which means you basically always can trigger that condition.
Yeah, I think you really nailed this card here. It's definitely, for me, teetering on the edge of 2 and 3. In the right matchup, I think it's like an absolute all-star 3-star card, and then some matchups it probably doesn't do much, and you just resource it. And stuff like Vader 4 will always have more units than the opponent as well, so you're just going to be able to just start your turn with it and just go, you cannot answer my board this turn, because there's not many units that can deal with 6 TIE fighters, is there? So definitely a good card. Next, Charge with Corruption. You may disclose 2 green. If you do, a friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit. I mean, there's literally a better card than this. To take captive is just better. You have to disclose for this, right? So I guess it's
Well,
not. Is it not arena locked?
yeah, it's not arena lock, so I think this is actually stronger than Take Captive.
Okay.
I only give it 1 star, but
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
the fact that it's not arena locked makes a big difference because there are a lot of situations where in mono green decks, which you would play this in usually if you were going to play it, because then you can meet the disclosed condition easier. But you have no way to answer an opponent's like big space unit, their Chewbacca unit or something. So
Yeah.
there's very few removal.
Well, Chewbacca
options
can't be
in
captured
space.
though.
Okay, of course, yeah, absolutely right. So yeah, Chewbacca, is that right? He can't be captured.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. But anyway, anyway, yeah. If your opponent has a space unit, and then obviously you can use that to answer it, which again I don't think it's a good unit, but no, Chewbacca can be captured. He can't be defeated or returned to hand. I thought that wasn't the case.
Oh,
yeah.
look at you, eh?
There you go. Yeah, I know my Chewbacca's definitely been sanctioned shuttled before.
Yeah,
So
I can't battle the Enigma
Yeah.
brain. Okay, they
There you
know
go,
the
yeah.
rules.
We know the rules at Enigma. Yeah, so Charge with Corruption, it's better than Take Captive, I think, but only marginally, so it's probably not a good card. But I do think there may be a world where it sneaks into a deck, especially post-rotation.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're probably not wrong. In especially in double green, they might just need this. I mean, Take Captive saw play in some places as well, didn't it? So it did sneak in a few places. So probably not the worst
And
card in the
legal
world.
authority as well. Yeah.
Yeah, legal too.
Yep.
3 cost, convene the Senate, search the top 8 cards for up to 2 officials, reveal and draw them, and create a spy token. I mean, it's not a horrible card. You get 2 cards for the price of 1, and you make a spy. Like, it does all the right things, but like, I think it's only relevant in Mon Mothma, and even there, you probably just don't play it. So clearly, it's not a good card then.
I don't know if that's Palpatine. I don't remember a scene where the guy.
Nah, that's not
frog and the
Palpatine.
Devil. Is it not?
Nah, there's no way. You don't remember this scene? It was awesome.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I think the card's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
a 3-cost draw 2 is one of the worst cards in the game, and then getting an extra spy, and with all the restrictions, it just doesn't sweeten the deal enough.
Yeah, agreed. No, nothing here. With Thunderous Applause, give a unit +2/+2 and disclose green to give another 2/2 for 3. I mean, double tactical advantage. If you liked it, if you like tactical advantage, my God, have I got a card for you? It's double tactical advantage.
Why does this not just cost 2?
It just this absolutely sucks. We can just move on. Ferric's Uprising, 4 cost event, deal damage equal to twice the number of units you control in an arena. It's kind of like the Yoda effect, I guess. You know, like when you heal 5 and then you use the Force and get to deal that. But like Yoda costs 8 and you heal 5 and get a giant guy, where you have to pay 4 and it only gets that bit of the effect. It feels really rough. Probably just a limited removal, in my opinion, for limited formats.
Yep. Not even good in Bale, so it's not good.
Yep. Here we go. A Fat L legendary here. 9 cost. Let's talk. If a friendly unit left play this phase, this event costs 3 less to play, so a whopping 6 if you can get the discount. Each friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. I mean, this is the effect of the Finalizer, right? Which was the 11/11 from set 2.
We all know how good that card
And the
was.
Finalizer just blew the meta wide open, as we all saw. You saw it in every deck. It was crazy. So Let's Talk is definitely a 3-star card. I mean, 1 star.
I mean, honestly, like legendaries should be what? They should be either really cool effects, really big units, or like really exciting,
like
models
unique,
or
exciting
characters in Star
effects.
Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is some people talking.
That's so awesome. And Han Solo's like, he's like dissociating in the background. I don't think he's even paying attention. Like Chewie's getting absolutely told off in the front, and he's like just absolutely phased out.
I mean, Woody Harrelson looks really confused.
Woody Harrelson can't believe this cost 9. Like, he just can't believe it.
Yeah, the card's terrible.
Yeah,
Why is that legendary?
This is just terrible. This could have been a common, and I would have still laughed at it. But the fact it's a legendary, Jesus Christ. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed the continued parts of the review that me and Al have been working on. Make sure that you leave likes, comments, and of course subscribe. We want to hear about what cards you think we got right and what we got wrong. And of course, we are also now having a public Discord, so check the link below and join the Discord, and we'll have some fun in there, have some good discussions. And of course, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.